I use a lot of light. But I don't have any filter to what I say. And so sometimes I may say something that some of you might not like very much. In fact, sometimes I might say something that I think, oh, I don't know if I should have said that quite the way I said it. However, I'm not a politician. I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to be a liar and a cheat. I don't want to be any of those things. I'm an activist. I'm simply using politics as a means to get conversations started, right? I don't expect to be the next Thatcher. You may think I should be. I don't expect to be the next Prime Minister. I don't expect to be the next MP in Brighton. I expect to maybe go along and stare at that man until he feels uncomfortable. That's what I intend to do. So I just want to say that you might expect politicians and pseudo-leaders or people that you think might be leaders, you might expect me to monitor my language and my tone. I'm just going to say to you, it's not about to happen. I'm not about to start being really careful what I say and make sure I say stupid things like trans rights are human rights. And one thing I wouldn't like to do is if John comes in to work as Janet with a short skirt on so you can practically see his testicles, I just want him to have the same human rights as you and me. That isn't what I believe. I don't think John should be allowed to come into work in a short skirt and make my customers, my clients, my staff feel uncomfortable. So I don't think that's something that I believe. However, can I just say to left-wing feminists, I don't actually have the power to stop anyone getting a job, except in my own company, all right? And I don't, despite the fact that I am practically a billionaire, I only own the one house and I've got no spare rooms. So if anyone was worried that I was about to try and stop an AGP living with me, I don't have any room. I haven't advertised any space. I don't have a second home. I'm not Angela Rayner. So, I'm just going to say this. I am a woman with conviction, right? Many of you are, that's why you're here. Because actually, despite the fact that you're not supposed to have the views that you have, because it's so mean. Where could they masturbate? Because it's awful, dreadfully mean. You're not allowed to have those opinions, and yet still here you are, having those opinions and telling everyone that you really don't give a shit what they think about that, okay? So, I would be a total hypocrite if upon announcing that I was going to run as an MP, I start guarding everything that I say and do a sanitized, kind of lukewarm version of what I've done before. However, if you want to be a candidate for Party of Women, you don't have to say the things that I say. You just have to know no woman has a penis, no man has a vagina, there is no such thing as non-binary, and transitioning children is profound abuse. Okay? So I also want to say that I don't do guilt by association. So if you join and you want to be a candidate, and you've got that much time to do it, if you join and you want to be a candidate, it's also none of my business, even as party leader, of what you think about other issues. I don't care. I don't care what you think about certain conflicts in the world. I don't care what you think about reproductive rights. I don't care what you think about council tax or bin collection. Those things are none of my business. I just need to know that in a process in which not a single politician is talking about repealing the GRA, that we're actually talking about that. That's the whole point. So let me just say it all again. We are standing as a disruptor. It's an extension of this activism. Party of Women is about disrupting the broken political process that we have, where you can either vote, as my husband said this morning, he's not particularly political, which is probably just as well. But we were driving and he said, it's really bad, isn't it? He said, so really you've just got a choice of Labour or Conservative governments. I was like, only for about 50 years. Before that, it was the same. So this is what we're talking about with UKIP, right? Like him or loathe him, Nigel Farage and his party and people that believed what he believed changed the conversations that people were having about Europe, right? I don't know how many MPs they got. I don't think they got any. I certainly don't think he ever sat in the House of Commons. But they forced politicians to have conversations about Europe. That's our intention. We intend to force politicians into the nonsensical crap that they spew about some women have penises, quite clearly, as Ed Davies said. Or as Angela Rayner says, trans rights are women's rights. Men's rights are actually women's rights. So when we're talking about politicians, we want to force them to either say something so idiotic that everybody can just hear it and everyone can start saying, God, that doesn't sound right, does it? What? So my mum, when she goes into hospital, she can't be in a female-only ward. Or my daughter, when she goes to school, she can't be in a single-sex space. Because whilst the Tories have come up with some little promises, I think it's May, and we're going to go to election in July. How many of those promises, how many of those we're going to do this, and how many of those things are actually going to happen before Keir Starmer comes in and goes, we're not going to do any of that? Nobody's mentioned AGP teachers, as far as I'm aware. Nobody's mentioned totally getting rid of guidance that puts male teachers in female-only spaces in schools. Nobody's mentioned that. I happened to be in Brighton, and can I just say that was so much fun. Thank you, Brighton ladies, they are amazing. So I was in Brighton moving library books, which is not criminal, but very annoying for library staff that go along with drag queen story time, right? So that's why we did it. So I was in Brighton, it was great fun, and there was a hulking great big bloke with French braids, with his class of teenage children, pretending to be a woman. He didn't do it with his voice, but he did it with his attire. Now, he'll still be allowed to teach. He'll still be allowed to wear his fetish to work. And so I just think we need those discussions. No one's going to talk about it. No politician is going to be brave enough to start saying, actually, should we allow adults with fetishes to go and parade them in schools around children? No one's going to talk about that. It's going to be far too frightening. So that's the conversations that we want to have. And if as a society we say, well, we don't mind. We don't mind men going into school dressed as women because it's their sexual proclivity, desire, fantasy, kink, fetish. If we say that as a society, then so be it. But at the moment, no one said that because they're not allowed to talk about it.